Ford Bronco Raptor. This is America's off-road Baja rig.
And this is the Ford F-150 Raptor, America's Baja pickup.
Hello and welcome to Performance on Wheels. My name is Todd, my son Austin, and we make all sorts of videos on all sorts of different cars. Do us a favor and hit that like, hit that subscribe button to join us on our journey. At the end of the day, what we really want to get across is which one of these vehicles is more fun, which one we like more. So Austin and I are going to go back and forth here in just a moment, sharing our opinions between these two in a few different categories, just like diving into what we think is the better, more fun automotive enthusiast car. But first, let's get some of the key items out of the way. A starting MSRP, and some of these are kind of shocking. I thought these were fun. A starting MSRP on an F-150 Raptor is like $78,000, somewhere in there, where you have to go $12,000 more, up to $90,000, somewhere in that range, to get a starting MSRP of a Bronco Raptor. Now that is one thing that I thought was interesting. I fully expected the F-150 to be more expensive. Another thing that I thought that the F-150 would be on the high end of the scale is weight. When in reality, the Bronco Raptor, although technically on like a smaller platform, it weighs more than the F-150 Raptor. And I think a big part of that is probably the aluminum pieces that are used on the F-150. Now we start talking about performance. 0 to 60 wise, they're identical. We have different motors, we have different horsepower numbers.
Starting off with this 450 horsepower, 3.5 liter twin turbo V6 Ford Raptor, as well as that 3 liter twin turbo 405 horsepower Raptor.
Getting to 60 is like right at 5.6 seconds. That is pretty incredible that both of these vehicles, with the differences I just talked about. Another thing to note is the Bronco Raptor is standard with that 37-inch tire. F-150 Raptor, that is an option to get those 37-inch tires. The front brakes, same size, 13.8 inches on both the F-150 and the Bronco, where when we talk about the rear brakes, the F-150 actually has a slightly larger brake disc, right? I think it's right around 13.7 inches, while the Bronco Raptor is 13.2, if my memory is serving me right. The F-150 has a towing capacity around 8,000 pounds, which is dramatically less than what you can get a normal non-Raptor F-150. It's all suspension related. And over on the Raptor Bronco, your towing capacity is like half of that. It's like 4,000, 4,500 pounds, somewhere in there. When you talk about payload, like how much all in can this vehicle hold, they're only about 300 pounds apart, where the F-150 Raptor's at 1,400 pounds of payload and the Bronco Raptor is 1,100 pounds. Another thing that is identical between both of these vehicles is the need for premium fuel and the need for having horrible gas mileage. You are not gonna break 20 miles per gallon. City, highway, uphill, downhill, mid-teens is about all you're gonna get. And another thing that you should also just note, again, we have different motors, different horsepower numbers. One has substantially more torque, but even when you take it into account, again, weighs more, less power, same 0 to 60, but in the quarter mile, 14.4 second at like 97, 14.1 second at 95. So the performance is about dead on here.
All right, Dad, those are some really cool points. Now let's break this down into some categories. We're gonna break it down by which exterior looks better in our opinion. Which one of these has a better interior? Which one of these is more fun to drive? Which one is more practical? And then I think based on those categories, we're gonna pick out a winner between these two. And let's start it off where we are right now on the outside.
And one thing I do want to point out here is the commonality between these vehicles, even though they're like radically different, but like there's so many like design cues and engineering things that are the same.
The Ford Performance team did a great job with that for sure.
Absolutely did. Like the matching grille, the 3 clearance lights that are not only in the front but the back.
Yeah.
We have a lot of things on the inside that are the same as well. Like the design of the grills are very similar.
Absolutely.
So the bumpers, the grills, there's a lot of stuff that looks the same, which I really do appreciate. But when you start talking about like which one do you like more, we might have a difference in opinion here.
We might. This one's really challenging for me. I've seen Bronco Raptors that I like way more. I've seen F-150 Raptors that I like a lot more. But ultimately, when they're all done up is kind of what I'm thinking about. Like thinking about a big tire rack in the bed, lifting this thing up, getting it all ready for Baja. I feel like these look better all done up than the Bronco Raptor, and that's what I have to use to decipher it because I can't make up my mind in stock form.
Interesting. So let's just break this down. Looking at these two vehicles in the front, which one do you like more?
The Bronco Raptor. I just think that really flat, long face and just that huge steel bumper, I just think it looks so mean.
And the reason I like the Bronco more from the front is like the wheel wells. They stick out like 5.5 or 6 inches.
Oh, it's so wide.
So you have this like obnoxious like toy. Like it looks like this vehicle that shouldn't be on a public roadway, that's on a public roadway.
When you're behind the wheel, it feels like it shouldn't be on a public roadway too. It's so wide.
I love the aggressiveness of those fixed tow hooks. So for me, the Bronco Raptor wins on the front end.
I fully understand what you mean. And when we talk about the side, that's where I think the F-150 takes it. I just like the classic pickup truck look, especially this one that's all lifted up with the big 37s on it, the sweet looking running boards, the whole like just truck look of it. I just like the way it looks.
And although the Bronco has a lot of similarities, it has like the similar running board that can let the gravel run through. You can option 37s on the F-150, just to remind you that this one only has the 35s from an aggressive look. But yeah, at the end of the day, the F-150 looks different than every other F-150. The Raptor looks different than every other F-150. Whereas the Bronco Raptor, like you obviously have the heat extractors and the 37s, but other than that, it's like the same old thing as every other Bronco.
It's still really wide on the side though. You can still see it for sure. And when we talk about the back, the Bronco's really dang wide, and it also gets some different tail lights compared to the base versions. It looks really, really aggressive, but I love the dual tips coming out of the back of the Ford Raptor. I love that big steel bumper again, and I really like the big tailgate emblem across the whole back. I like the way the back of the Raptor looks more.
And we are going to disagree here
F-150.
because I like the way the Bronco looks more here. And one of the main things that I'd point out is I like the 3 clearance brake lights, which obviously the F-150 has as well. But I love the fact that that 37-inch tire is mounted to the back. You take that into account with those huge fender wells. And again, you have this vehicle that doesn't look like it should be on a public roadway. But at the end of the day, you talk about exterior, and I think the Bronco ends up winning overall.
I agree, because I only picked 2 sides of the F-150, which gives the Bronco the first W. We need to give a huge shout out to Apple Ford Apple Valley, a part of the Apple Autos dealer group here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, for supplying both of the Raptors shown in today's video. If you guys are interested in purchasing one of these Raptors, please be sure to check out the link down in the description below. And on to the interior. I really like the interior of both of these vehicles, but there's a few things that we're about to bring up here that I personally find quite surprising. As we hop over inside of the Bronco Raptor, let's go ahead and start there. We can quickly identify that there is pretty much 0 comparisons from the inside of the Bronco Raptor to the lower trim of Broncos. They really took their time on adding color and new spots, adding like totally different stitching in different places, throwing all of this orange accents everywhere, the orange seat belts, these really cool blue and suede, like orange inside of the suede seats. Super cool. Like everything about the interior of the Bronco Raptor, in my opinion, looks more special, high-end, extraordinary from the F-150 Raptor.
And I don't disagree with you, Austin, but what is fun is that the engineers again did do something to set either of the Raptors away from...
They absolutely did.
The stitching is different, the seats have more bolstering, the steering wheel's more aggressive, like there's all this stuff. The graphics on the screen are specific to the Raptor, right? So there's all this stuff that makes both of these vehicles like exhilarating to be in.
Yep.
But you're not wrong when you say like there's just something that feels more special or another step up in the Bronco.
Just hopping between the two of these, there's just no question that the Bronco's interior is another league when it comes to just having that extra level of quality, of specialness. But if I were to hop in one of these for a long road trip, I think I can confidently say the F-150 seats are dramatically more comfortable than the Broncos. The Broncos are a little bit stiffer up front. They do have more bolstering, but the F-150s have some great bolstering as well because you sink into them a little bit more. The quality of the seats in the F-150 in the front are better than the quality on the Bronco Raptor.
I agree with you 100%. A little more cushion. There's also just the mere fact of the width. Like the F-150 is wider inside, so you have a little more space, and you can completely feel that both in the front seat and the back seat. When you talk about back seat and the comfort, like the actual like sitting position and the quality, there's really not that much difference.
Yeah.
And I was actually expecting to have a lot more legroom feeling in the F-150 than the Bronco. But at the end of the day, I felt like I was sitting in a very similar back seat in both of the vehicles, with the exception of you can clearly like feel the width difference when you're in the Bronco.
Now we do need to touch on one other point, and that is like kind of fun or luxury. So the F-150 over here, it has a panoramic moonroof. You can open that up, bring a lot of light in, and also with it just being a standard truck, it generates less wind noise on the highway than the Bronco Raptor over there. The Bronco Raptor's doors come off, the roof comes off. So just driving around town, I think like it's a little bit more luxurious feeling to have the F-150 Raptor, where a little bit more rowdy feeling to have the Bronco Raptor, in the sense where it's a little bit more off-road oriented with taking the roof and the doors and stuff off.
And now, Austin, because we're not comparing a Cadillac to a Lincoln here, we're not comparing a luxury vehicle.
I would agree.
We're comparing like what is fun on the auto market, where can you still let your hair down and go woo a little bit, like, right? So with that being said, I don't care about the comfort. Like, I understand it's better.
I agree.
I want the rowdy. I want Ford to keep producing the rowdy. So I am going and saying that the Bronco Raptor, again, takes the W home on the interior.
That is box number 2. Let's move on to number 3. Let's go with practicality. I think it's pretty clear to tell the audience that this portion is going to be a pretty short one.
It definitely will, and we won't ramble on here because there's not too much to talk about that we haven't already highlighted on. We have more towing capacity. We have a pickup bed. They're both obnoxiously wide, so like driving them around town.
Neither one of them is easy to do.
Right. A little more length in the F-150. Horrible gas mileage with both. But the fact of the matter is you have a greater towing capacity. You have a pickup bed.
You have way more storage on the interior. You have more width on the interior. You can fold up the back seats and put a bunch of stuff under them. The F-150 wins absolutely hands down from a practicality standpoint. Like, it's not even close.
Even though the Bronco is fine, right? We drive a Bronco Wild Track, my wife and I. So like understanding getting in and getting all your stuff in there and having enough room, it's fine. But like the storage up front completely sucks. Knowing that you're on 37s, like getting stuff up to that height of the rear end is challenging. So like, yeah, F-150 wins hands down in this practicality.
There is a box check for the F-150, which brings it down to fun to drive, and that will be the deal breaker. Before my dad starts taking over, I just want to mention we both have a lot of behind the wheel time in both of these vehicles. We've taken them on long trips. We've had a lot of time behind the wheel. We've gone to the Bronco off-rodeo, so lots of time behind the wheel of both of these vehicles.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I will say is if we were talking about an F-150R, we wouldn't even be having this conversation, but we are giving this conversation to a 3.5 Raptor, not the supercharged V8.
Yeah, the F-150 Raptor R, I think both of us can agree, is the most fun pickup truck that either one of us has ever driven. The thing is an absolute beast.
Hands down.
But when we talk about the 3.5 F-150, it feels like it's lacking a little bit of luster when you get it up and rolling. Down from a stop, it's still pretty dang quick. But ultimately that weight takes over when you're at a roll, and it doesn't feel all that fast.
It really doesn't. And one thing that it does do for sure is it's really loud from the factory. Like the active exhaust, this thing screams compared to the Bronco.
It like actually hurt my ears a little bit when we were doing some of these rev shots. can't believe how loud that is from the factory.
Right.
It's ear piercing.
But from behind the wheel, they both give a nice exhaust tone. You can hear that there's something rowdy happening out back and up front under the hood. So that makes it a lot of fun. They both have these like nice bolstered, like thick steering wheels. And like they're both like fun to drive as far as like that Fox suspension that's on both of them. You can throw them into a corner, you can go over bumps fast.
They do anything.
They're a lot of fun in that regard.
They do literally anything, which is super cool.
And the one thing what I like fully expected here, I fully expected the F-150 to feel faster because of the horsepower, because of the torque numbers.
Because of it weighing less.
Because of it weighing less, exactly, Austin. But when I'm behind the wheel of the Bronco, I don't know if it's the suspension, I don't know if it's the rear end, but I feel like the throttle is more responsive. I feel like it feels quicker, even though it's not.
And that is both of them in the corresponding or same drive modes.
And it's like, to me, I don't know if it's the suspension, I don't know if it's the rear end, but everything about the Bronco just feels more playful.
I would agree.
It feels like it's more rowdy, like everything is more fun.
The Bronco Raptor definitely squats significantly more whenever you put the pedal down, and it definitely throws the body around a little bit more than the F-150. So I think that really gives it its playful manner, which makes it feel more fun behind the wheel. It really is such a good time, and it always puts a smile on my face. And it sounds so good from the inside. The stock exhaust on this thing, just the interior sitting position, it's weird because the F-150 is way louder on the outside, but the Bronco Raptor is way louder on the inside. It's so much fun. I really like being behind the wheel of the Bronco Raptor. Not dismissing the F-150, but I think this one's more fun.
And Austin, you already brought it up, but we have to bring it up again. Like, beautiful summer day, like which vehicle are you taking? Like,
oh, tops off, doors off.
And just out there having a good time. So
Yeah.
to me, the Bronco Raptor takes the trophy home here, not only in the category of fun to drive, but in the overall like top pick. If you're looking for a toy, if you're looking for like, if you're an automotive enthusiast and you want that look at me like, holy cow, I want to put a smile on my face vehicle, I'm choosing the Raptor over the 3.5 Raptor F-150. This whole like Raptor thing is weird. We keep saying Raptor and we're talking about the same thing.
We really need to get our hands on a Ranger Raptor. If you guys are local to Minnesota and have a Ranger Raptor you'd be willing to allow us to shoot a video on, please leave us a comment or shoot us an email at performanceonwheels111@gmail.com. And I think that sums up this video. Ultimately, we are not biased. I just think the Bronco Raptor is just this incredible package of fun. The F-150 Raptor, if you're
Really
looking
good.
for something practical, like if you need a daily driver, like that's obviously the better choice. It's way more practical in every single sense, but I'm choosing the Bronco Raptor when it comes to a fun aspect. Thank you guys so much for watching this video today here on Performance on Wheels. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support this father and son team. We'll see you next time.